This is BRICS Global Television Network's weekly roundup. Hello, I'm Juliet Newell. We start with the headlines. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulates Russian President Vladimir Putin. Brazil probes allegations of cheap imports from China. We take the Big Mac test the BRICS way. And Saudi Arabia kicks South Africa out of the Kasafa Beach tournament. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has congratulated Vladimir Putin on winning Russia's presidential elections. Russia's Central Election Commission has declared the win, confirming Putin will continue for a fifth term, adding 6 more years to his presidency. During a telephone call on Wednesday, Modi congratulated Putin and conveyed wishes of peace, progress and prosperity for the people of Russia. BGTN's Yolanda Pondo has more.
The two leaders discussed their India-Russia partnership and regional cooperation. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi says they've agreed to work together to further deepen and expand India-Russia special and privileged strategic partnership in the years ahead. Putin and Modi also discussed the progress made in a number of bilateral cooperation matters and shared their views on issues of global and mutual interest. The Indian Prime Minister also took the opportunity to reiterate his country's position on the Ukraine-Russia war, saying dialogue and diplomacy is the only way forward. Yolanda Pondo, BGTN, Johannesburg.
In Brazil, with a wrap of other stories making headlines this week, our correspondent Chris Goldenbaum.
The investigation against former President Jair Bolsonaro's alleged coup attempt has reached a new high this week, after the Supreme Court released all the testimonials made against the former president. Several staff members, assistants, and even members of the armed forces implicated Jair Bolsonaro as potentially the main mind between the whole attempt. It is unclear what the future will hold for the former president. Current President Lula's approval rating is plummeting. According to several polls, between August and February, Lula's approval rate dropped by 9 points. According to several experts, what's causing this is Lula's handling of the war in Gaza, as he widely criticized Israel, and also his interference in the economy. Just last week, Lula criticized Petrobras, Brazil's main state oil company, saying that they shouldn't share their profits into their shareholders. This generated a lot of stress with the economy and the market. A major heat wave from north to south is driving Brazilians to the brink. This Sunday, Rio de Janeiro's thermal sensation reached 62 degrees Celsius, the highest since 2014.
A gente, na verdade, a gente tenta se defender, né? Ir para um lugar mais aberto, lugar que tenha mar, mas a gente tem que fazer alguma coisa prevenção, né?
Several of the Brazilian authorities in climate are saying that this poses an extremely dangerous situation in several parts of the country, including São Paulo. An epidemic of dengue fever. In 2024, Brazil already surpassed the amount of cases of dengue from 2023. We're talking about over 1,600,000 confirmed cases and more than 500 deaths. Dengue is transmitted by a mosquito called Aedes aegypti. Symptoms vary from pain all the way to bleeding. Brazilian authorities are very concerned and are taking the precautions for people not to let the mosquito procreate, which may cause additional cases.
And the water crisis in Maritlokwa in the northwest appears to be getting worse. All the residents want is clean drinking water, but at what price? BGTN's Inga Mzileni has been following the story and has an update.
Intimidation, threats and the refusal to comment on the water issue in Maritlokwa have kept all of us in the dark for 7 months since the situation was first reported. The water test results recently carried out by Rustenburg local municipality show that the water has high levels of nitrate. This is in addition to the initial lab test results by a private lab that showed high levels of E. coli in the water.
You must remember we use France 241 standards to actually determine what is the limit of what is required and what are the limits in terms of the parameters of like your chlorine in the water. So out of that, there was no parameter that was high. and above the SARS 241 limits.
But what are black particles in the water? It's difficult to establish what they are, and more concerning, what effect could they have on people who drink the water? The people of Maditlokwa are desperate for clean water. BGTN reached out to the mine once again for permission to erect freshwater tanks to meet the needs of the villagers. Instead, BGTN received a scathing letter from Teresa Minerals demanding that the channel takes down the first part of the report or face legal action. The mining company accused BGTN of not giving it a chance to reply, despite us reaching out to them numerous times. We extended the right of reply, but the company didn't respond. But what about the Rustenburg local municipality? So we reached out to the Water Services Unit Manager, Ulebugeng Mswane, to better understand the agreement between the mine and the municipality with regards to provision of water to Maditlokwa. The municipality's main supplier of water to the area is Rand Water. The water is pumped through systems: the Fall River network, which supplies the Banatsvlei Reservoir, and 2 other pipelines that pump 140 megalitres of water. 100 megalitres of that supply is utilized by the mines. It's been 7 months now since we've been pursuing the Rustenburg local municipality, and finally I'm here standing outside their building. If you see that building over there, that's where we just came from. Their manager for water services agreed to talk to us. And when we arrived here, he redirected us to his colleagues. There's this ducking and diving by the people who are responsible. The 2 activists who reached out to BGTN about the water issue in the area have now been threatened with legal action.
Teresa Mine did open up a case for us that we are been talking about them. It seems like we are lying about them, of which we are having a problem of contaminated water here and also blasting issues.
On March 12th, the mine filed for an agent interdict under Section 612 against the 2 activists.
The case is still pending. It's only an interim order. The documents are public. You can always access them. We are coming back on the 2nd of May. Whether the order that's granted today should be made final or not. But as it stands, they should not interfere with the mine operations. The issue of communicating in the media, they are not restricted. What they should not do is to defame or insult the mine.
High nitrate volumes in the water, black particles that do not dissolve in water, and the first recorded case of sickness from the water. Still, the Maditlokwa community is battling a water crisis with no knowledge of what the black particles are, nor if they are dangerous if consumed. The people here feel neglected by the municipality and the mine that promised to supply them with clean fresh water.
Would you like to tell us something?
Melanie, I can't make comments. Up to you.
No.
That's fine. Time to report us.
I feel like Teresa is been threatening me. There is no reason why. I'm still confused why I'm here in High Court, because there is no violence that I did to Teresa Mine.
Inga Mzileni, BGTN, Mafikeng High Court in Northwest Province, South Africa.
In your BRICS business, we start in South America. Brazil's relationship with China could turn sour if it's established it's been dumping industrial products in the Latin American country. Several investigations have been launched to probe the matter at the request of industry bodies. Around half a dozen probes are being carried out into allegations of the cheap importation of goods from China, including metal sheets, chemicals and tyres. These include an investigation into claims by a large Brazilian steel producer, CSN, that between July 2022 and June 2023, there was an 85% increase in the importation of carbon steel sheets from China. Brazil's industry ministry says there are sufficient elements that indicate the practice of dumping in exports from China to Brazil and damage to the domestic industry resulting from such practice. It's a difficult balance to strike as Brazil aims to nurture its economic relations with China, but at the same time protect and develop its own national industries. China is Brazil's largest trading partner. Last year, Brazil imported over $50 billion worth of goods from China and exported goods, mostly soya beans and iron ore, to the eastern country, valued at more than $100 billion. In South Africa, the inflation rate could decline over the next 2 years, according to newly released data, just in time for next week's policy debate. The South African Reserve Bank's Monetary Policy Committee meets next week. According to a survey carried out by the Bureau for Economic Research, average inflation expectations have dropped 0.3% to 5.4%. The outlook for 2025 also sees a drop in the rate of price growth from 5.6% to 5.3%. But what does that mean for next week's MPC meeting? BGTN's Kakangofe has more.
The Bureau for Economic Research survey results might not be enough to convince the MPC that an interest rate cut is viable. And it's widely expected it will remain the same at 8.25%. The Bureau's survey collected data from business people, analysts, labor unions and households. Results indicate an inflation rate decline in 2025 from 5.6% to 5.3% and a further decline to 5.2% in 2026. This will take the rate closer to the Reserve Bank expectations of 4.5%, right in the middle of its 3% to 6% target range. The MPC will only consider loosening monetary policy when inflation is headed towards that midpoint. The Reserve Bank Governor, Lesetja Kganyago, will announce more on this on the 27th of March. Kakangofe, BGTN, Johannesburg, South Africa.
And you might have heard about the Big Mac test. No, it's not about stuffing as many burgers into your mouth as you can. The Big Mac's index is used to measure the disparities in consumer purchasing power between different nations. BGTN's Ray White explains.
Looking at putting together a single BRICS currency, well, that's a bit of a tough task, and let me tell you why. We're going to use Big Mac burgers, and you have the Big Mac index. It's been around for many, many years, where you take the cost of a burger in a certain country and you compare it to the same burger in another country. And that's exactly what we've done with the BRICS countries. Let me show you. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, the different BRICS countries. But have a look here, the different amounts per burger in each country. Except for Russia, there's a bit of a problem. They got sanctions. So sorry, Russia, we're going to take you away for now, and we're going to close your box because you can't take part in this exercise, although you have your own alternative restaurant there. So that's Russia for now. But you have a look at these prices. I mean, Brazil, $4.81 versus, say, South Africa, $2.71. Those are the different comparisons. So how do you then put together one single currency if the economies are different, the purchasing prices are different? That's a major problem. So for now, politicians are going to have to get together, negotiators, and say, how do we bring this all together? Let's get the economists in. Russia's arguing, no, hold on a second now. We've got this. This is a Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is cryptocurrency. You can actually trade across borders, and it's not a problem. You don't have to pay taxes or anything. You can negotiate with another country. So that's how Russia's doing it at the moment. They've now passed that legislation. But until we get to a general consensus for all of them here, all the different countries, for now, they're going to have to trade in their own currencies. That'll strengthen their currencies, but there won't be a single currency. Now, let's see which burger to eat. Tell you what, let's take South Africa. Oops, better take the toothpicks out.
In just a bit, Ben Ricotso's got your BRICS sports stories, but first, more of what's coming soon on BGTN.
Every white cross represents a farmer who has been murdered. Some call these the forgotten farm murders.
Het hulle die tuinpark in sy rugge gedruk?
Coming soon on BRICS Global Television.
What was going through your head at that stage? Did you comprehend that you were being taken?
It was chaos. What was going through my mind was absolute insanity. I kept thinking back to the fact that my wife had given me 6 months to ride my motorbike through Africa. And I kept thinking, whatever is happening right now better be quick, because I've got to be home in six months. I can't inconvenience my family. So, I mean, it was funny how life was out of control. Things were completely irrational, and your mind just jumps to anything that you can understand.
With your BRICS Sports Stories, I'm Ben Ricott. We start in South Africa, where the Saudi Arabian beach football team thumped South Africa by 3-1 in Durban at the Kosafa Beach tournament. Beach football lovers saw the tired-looking South African beach team going down without much of a fight against the Green Falcons of Saudi Arabia. One can actually bet that the host didn't even get off the bus, according to the performance on Wednesday afternoon. This means that the Saudi Arabia team is through to the semi-finals after dishing out some beach football lessons to South Africa. We move to Russia now, where the country has slammed the decision by the International Olympic Committee to ban its athletes from participating in the opening parade of the Paris Olympics in July, calling it a violation of the ideals of the Games. Athletes from both Russia and Belarus were banned following Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. However, athletes from both Russia and Belarus who qualify for the Games can compete as neutrals. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov told reporters that this is, of course, the destruction of the idea of Olympism. This is an infringement of the interest of the Olympic athletes, he said. And a brief look at other sports stories. In China, the 2024 Shanghai Shenzhou Creek Half Marathon will fire its starting pistol at 7 a.m. on March 24 in Potou District. Sponsored by the Agricultural Bank of China, Shanghai branch, and hosted by Shanghai Donghao Langsheng Event Management, nearly 7,000 runners will begin their 21-marathon journey from Monganshen Road to Zhangchong Creek Half Marathon Park. Real Madrid Football Club has filed a new complaint with the Spanish state prosecutors following report of more hate chants aimed at the Brazilian forward Vinicius Jr. in the Spanish league. The club also filed a complaint with the Spanish Football Federation Disciplinary Committee against the referee on Saturday match at Osasuna for not including his match report the alleged Die Vinicius chants by local fans at Al Sadar Stadium. Madrid called the match report by the referee Juan Martinez Munera negligent. Let's remind you once again that Saudi Arabia will host the 2027 AFC Asian Champion Cup. This will be for the first time Saudi Arabia hosts the Asian continent tournament since it was launched in 1956. The Middle East country became the only candidate vying towards the 2027 AFC Asian Cup after Uzbekistan, Iran, India withdrew from the host bids. Although the kingdom has won the tournament 3 times in 1984, 1988 and 1996, it has never hosted the tournament. Saudi Arabian Football Federation President Yasser Al-Misehal says he is happy that this country has been chosen as the host of the 2027 AFC Champions Cup, adding that Saudi Arabia has a great history in the tournament, having won it 3 times before, stressing, however, that the focus now is on the future and the development of football in Saudi. And finally, we've got some exciting news to share. BGTN has partnered with the Ultimate Slap Fighters promotions under Bobby Krish, the Punisher. This is taking slap fighting to the next level. Take a look.
BGTN presents the Ultimate Slap Fighting.
just want to say it's an honor for me to be here today and make it official. Myself and Trevor and BGTN, we're going to be partners in Ultimate Slap Fight, and we're going to take this sport, one of the fastest growing sports in the world, we're going to take it to another level. Trev.
BGTN are very, very happy to be a partner in Ultimate Slap Fighting. We look forward to taking slap fighting to Saudi Arabia, the Middle East, and the rest of Africa.
It's official, my brother. Let's make the best out of this.
Ultimate Slap Fight.
That's my sport. I'm Ben Ricotto for BGTN. See you next week.
And finally, for those who may have just months to live, they very often have one big dream, something they hold close to their hearts. BGTN, in partnership with Reach for a Dream, visited Gold Reef City to realize the dream of 14-year-old Thapelo Radebe. It was a day of excitement, helping to forget, and realizing his dream to take the big rides. BGTN's Ray White was there.
Reach for a Dream has been granting the wishes of youngsters for many years, and a special few are given a chance to do something that lies outside of their financial reach. Today is the choice of 14-year-old Thapelo Radebe, and he's chosen Gold Reef City. Thapelo is suffering from the life-threatening nephrotic syndrome, more commonly known as kidney failure.
So, are you ready? Do you think you're going to get wet? I think you're going to get wet. What happens if you've got to jump out? Shall we swim? No, no swimming allowed. Okay, okay. I'm nervous. Can I sit next to you?
Okay. We wasted no time and took to the rides, which began with a splash. For someone facing a life-threatening illness, Thapelo showed no fear, and the log ride was fun, but was just the start. What would life be without the unforgiving anaconda? Living your dream is one way to forget about a life-threatening disease. Youth does that. You feel invincible, like you're on top of the world.
I think anaconda because got it here na futhi got it too fast. Yeah, and people and they abantu got they scream like. Oh.
Did you scream? Did you go like wow?
No, I was like ah, holding the leopard like this. Oh.
And the fun and excitement continued for Thapelo, the Golden Loop, the Ferris wheel, and a small train ride. He even got to play drums with a miners band and played rock, paper, scissors between rides. But behind the scenes, his mom, Sizakele Radebe, kept a watchful eye. Her concern came pouring out in a conversation later in the day.
Even now, I don't understand this loop. I'm still struggling with like how I'm going, how long is going to leave. So into ezinjalo zihlala zingicekela phansi, even if you can make a joke, angisakwazi nokuhleka because I digest kahle the sickness.
But Thapelo loves his mom and believes he can beat the disease because he has her by his side. It was then time for Thapelo to get what he really wanted. The latest PlayStation, courtesy of Reach for a Dream. For one day, this young boy forgot about the disease that is trying to kill him. For one day, total bliss and happiness.
That's your weekly BRICS News Roundup. We'll be back with more next week. For these and other stories, you can get your daily fix from our website and our social media.